Hello, everybody. Welcome to Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and welcome to the very first Movie Goodness of 2025. At least I think it is, isn't it? I think so. Uh, time and days are blurred to me. Ever since I want to say Thanksgiving. I can't tell you what day of the week it is, what date it is. You know, my time is all thrown off. I feel like it's 7 o'clock at night when it's actually 3:15 in the afternoon. I don't know what's going on with me lately. I don't know if my mind is slipping, and depending on who you ask, my mind has been slipping since birth. But that's neither here nor there. But my concept of time has just went haywire over the last couple of months. So it time kind of blends in on itself. But I believe this is the first movie goodness episode of 2025. And if it is, if I'm correct in that guess, happy new year to everybody. I hope that this show finds everybody doing well, that you already started your journey to have a better 2025 that you did in 2024. Even though 2024, yes, we had our ups and downs, but we got through it, kicking and screaming, but we got through it nonetheless. 2025 is a new year, new goals, new mission statements to make. I'm not a big New Year's resolution guy. I don't make New Year's resolutions. I feel if you're going to make a change, it doesn't matter if it's January the 1st or April 10th or October the 28th. It doesn't matter. Whenever you feel the need to make a change, make that change. Start it right then and there. So that's neither here nor there. Today, we're going to talk about something that is ongoing. Good old movie goodness fashion. We talk about current affairs. And the biggest current thing that is, no pun intended, sweeping the world is this California wildfire situation. And it is sad, when you see these pictures online or on the news, all of the devastation that has taken place. It is like the stuff of movies, ironically enough, being as though this is around the Los Angeles area where Hollywood is and all, where they make all of these good movies. And it looks dystopian. It looks like a dystopian movie that they're shooting. Like the special effects has gotten out of control, but this is real life. This is actual real life. I saw one video of this fire. It just devastated this town. I want to say Pasadena, one of those areas around there, and it looked like the depiction of hell from the film Constantine that starred Keanu Reeves when he went into hell to retrieve that medical bracelet, and it just looked so funky and real, at least in that film. Like if I was to imagine hell, which I don't want to, because I certainly don't want to go there, but that's what I would say. Yep, that's hell. That looks like hell. Only to fast forward to 2025 and to turn on the news and we see an actual depiction of that. I mean, it looked exactly like the scene from that movie, but it was real. It just tore me up on the inside, tore me up to see all of these people who are homeless, with this fire sweeping. Down here in New Orleans, we are, at least we should be, very empathetic to natural disasters when it happens elsewhere, because we've been through it. We've been through devastations of natural disasters, i.e. Hurricane Katrina. You remember the pictures of Hurricane Katrina, for those of you who don't live in this area, and you actually saw the pictures on the news. Unfortunately, us down here, we didn't have to look at pictures. It was our houses. But, you saw the devastation. You saw how houses were flooded and your materialistic things were floating down the street or damaged or ruined, pictures and whatnot, all that good stuff gone because of these flood waters. And as bad as it was, and it was horrible, and it still is, because believe it or not, people are still trying to bounce back from Hurricane Katrina. That has not went anywhere, but it it was a road to recovery. There was a starting point for those of us who houses were flooded. For example, my parents' house, it was flooded, but all they did gut out the houses and put up new sheetrock and whatnot, got new furniture and this, that, and the third. And so eventually they were able to bounce back, and thousands, if not millions of others who had to go through that as well. But in this instance, when you're dealing with wildfires, they don't have nothing to go back to. See, when we left for Katrina, we came back to devastation. We came back to see our houses just in a wreck. The people of California, when these fires started raging and they left homes. When they came back, it was nothing but ashes. There's nothing there. And so for people who want to compare the two, you can't compare the two. What the good folks over in California are going through was far worse. And my heart, my prayers go out to them as they rebuild. This was or it still is, because it's still ongoing. It is not over, unfortunately. This is ongoing. But what we're going to talk about today, we're going to go through the history of what took place and what is going on currently and why is it taking so long. And for our film today that we're going to review, initially I wasn't going to do a film, but I said, now I'm gonna review this film because under any other circumstance, I don't see an opportunity to review this film for no other reason. And it is the 1998 film starring NFL Hall of Famer turned actor turned back to NFL commentator Howie Long, and it is Firestorm, a film that I remember back in 1998 I was excited for. And I'll tell you why when we get to the review. But first, let's talk about the devastation that is going on currently in California, the wildfires, this ongoing series of wildfires that are burning through the state of California, and more specifically, Southern California, that has resulted in fatalities. I think up at least the time of this recording, 16 deaths have taken place due to these wildfires, homes destroyed, and of course power outages throughout those areas. But the 2025 fire season started very early. Now, this isn't something new. They always have wildfires in California. This is a thing, unfortunately, just like it's a thing for down here in southeastern Louisiana for that 6-month period that we have hurricanes. It's hurricane season. Every time a little breeze come off the coast of Africa, our buttholes clench up because we know that can turn into a tropical storm or, God forbid, a hurricane and enter the Gulf of Mexico. And here we go again. And so this is a thing. Unfortunately, it's a thing for the people in California as well. But not normally does it start this early, especially at the very beginning of the year. And it really came from these winds. It was like a wind event that took place. I think they called it the Santa Ana wind event. The just strong, like, speaking of hurricanes, hurricane gust winds that were just blowing in. It wasn't any storms. It was just this wind event. And with this wind, and you had these little small fires or whatever the case may be, and the wind fueled those fires, and it just raged completely out of control, and it sparked several large, devastating wildfires in Los Angeles County. Now, according to climate scientists, climate change increased the likelihood of the event by causing first a very strong rainfall, which resulted in more vegetation. And so, with that happening, and then this very strong drought that took place after, which dried up all that vegetation, the likelihood of such events increased by 30, they said up to 30 to 60% from 1950. And so previous climate models underestimated the risk. But even they said that a 3-degree temperature rise will increase the chances of such events 2 times in comparison to the current conditions. And so climate change also increased the intensity of winds and reduced the amount of water available for stopping the wildfires. And I know what a good contingent of people feel about climate change. There's a large group of people who don't even believe in climate change, that it's not a thing. But it's a thing. It is a thing. And I don't see how you can deny that. How can you deny the existence of climate change? Have you walked outside at any point during the year or any time in your life? You know a difference. You know the difference of these bitter colds that happen in the South. Case in point, I was just reading before I started preparing for the show today. I was just reading about how as of today, the day of this recording, every state in the United States, with the exception of 2, the other 48 states, every one of those 48 states have snow today or in the next coming days. The 2 that don't will be here in Louisiana and Florida. Everybody else will get snow. Now, that doesn't mean there's a blanket of snow everywhere else. In some portion of your state, there's going to be snow throughout the next week or so. So that is bananas to me. I've never seen nothing like that. When they showed the map, I was like, my God, the whole map is white, except here and in Florida. But it's cold enough here in New Orleans. It is freezing. I mean, I don't know why it's not snowing, because it's cold enough to snow, and we have a slight drizzle in the air. So it feels like it might snow, but it is not, according to these meteorologists and whatnot. Yeah, climate change is a real thing. That's why you're getting hurricanes in Los Angeles. You remember a couple of years ago, you had a hurricane hit Los Angeles, hurricanes hitting New York City, and blizzards happening in the South, and all this other stuff. It's just crazy climate events that are taking place, and this is just in the United States. If I put pen to paper and go to Googling and typing on his computer, and search around the world, I'm pretty sure they've had some changes in their weather over the past 20, 30, 40 years as well. It is gradually changing, and this is partially the result of some of that. And now, I'm not here to try to convince anybody or move the needle on anything in regards to your beliefs in climate change. That if you believe what you want to believe, and that's for anything that I talk about here on this show, I'll just give my thoughts and beliefs. Now, if you disagree, that's fine. That's your opinion. But I'm looking at what's in front of me and what my body tells me every time I walk out the door. It is freezing when it's supposed to be hot, or it's hot when it's supposed to be cold. Is no reason why Christmas Day you should be walking around with shorts and a tank top on, because it's burning up. That's weird to me. But here in New Orleans, that's the course of a day. Here in New Orleans, we go through, and I'm gonna get back to the wildfires. Here in New Orleans, we go through all 4 seasons in the course of a day. It is crazy. And this happens all the time. We'll get winter in the first thing in the morning. It'll be freezing cold. By 10, 11 o'clock, it turns to spring. You come out of your jacket. Midday, it is burning hot. You're in short sleeves now. You done stripped out some of them layers. By the afternoon, you probably throw on a little windbreaker because it's getting a little cool. Then at night, you're wrapped up in a throw rug or whatever in your house because it's freezing cold. You don't know how to set your thermostat throughout the day. You you do not. It is crazy here in New Orleans. Now, heading back to California, here's a list of fires that burnt more than 1,000 acres of property and land or whatever, and it produced significant structural damage and resulted in casualties. Beginning on January the 7th, you have the Palisades fire that consumed 23,713 acres. As it stands right now, only 11% of that fire has been contained. Evacuations were forced in this area. They destroyed at least 513 structures and it damaged 63 of them in Pacific Palisades, northwest of Santa Monica. Two confirmed fatalities came from this fire, three confirmed injuries associated with extreme, powerful Santa Ana wind event. And so that was on January the 7th. Also on January the 7th, we had Eden, which was also in Los Angeles County. You had 14,117 acres that were affected by these fires. 27% of that fire has been contained. Of course, evacuations were forced. It destroyed at least 1,211 structures and damaged 166 of them in Pasadena. Eight confirmed casualties were the result of this fire. Five confirmed injuries as well. On the 7th as well, you have Hearst, which is also, well, all of them in Los Angeles County, so it makes no point to say that. But in Hearst, you had 799 acres affected. 89% of this fire has been contained. No casualties confirmed. No injuries were confirmed in this event. We move over to Lydia, which had 395 acres that were affected. This fire was contained 100% on the 11th of January. Sunset, you had 43 acres affected. That fire was contained. It started on the 8th. It was contained on the 9th. And in Kenneth, you had 1,052 acres affected. It has been contained. That fire started on the 9th. It was contained on the 12th. No confirmed casualties or injuries in that fire. Now let's get into, I guess you could say, the controversial nature of these fires. You know, what else contribute to this devastation that took place in California? Yes, it is a natural disaster, act of God, if you will, but human beings had their hand in it as well. The budget for the Los Angeles Fire Department was reduced by $17.6 million or 2% in the fiscal year of 2024-2025. On December the 4th of 2024, the LA Fire Chief, Christian Crowley, said that the reduction has adversely affected the department's ability to maintain core operations, and that the $7 million reduction of overtime hours severely limited the department's capability to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies such as this, and affected inspections of residential and brush clearance. Prior to the first wildfires, the Santa Ynez Reservoir, I believe I'm saying his name right, at least the name of this reservoir correctly, which is a large reservoir. It holds 117 million gallons of water. the infrastructure is it's located in the upper Pacific Palisades, and it had been completely emptied due to ongoing maintenance to the repair of a tear on its cover. And so they didn't have access to that. That was a major blow to the efforts to contain these fires. Now, the reservoir was scheduled to resume operations in February, which was next month. The former Los Angeles Department of Water and Power General Manager Martin Adams stated that the repair operations had been going on, quote unquote, for a while, and the officials typically maintained lower water levels in the reservoir during winter months to prevent water stagnation and additional issues with chemical compensation and bacteria growth. And so it was normal for them to go through a routine in the winter, but to completely drain it was kind of off, I guess you could say. Now, a lot of the blame has been laid at the feet of California's Governor Newsom. And I don't know who to point the finger at, who to blame or whatever, but I know it's going to turn into something politicized. I think back to, don't have to think back too far, but the incident that happened in New Orleans on New Year's Day, the terror attack that took place. And I don't even think it was a day later, you have political, quote unquote, leaders come forward and talk about suing the city and all this other foolishness. What's that going to do? That's not going to bring back the 15 people that died there. I don't understand, because of the little concrete barriers that were supposed to be up during this time when that fool did what he did on Bourbon Street. But I know in situations like this and similar to this, people want to blame somebody. Somebody has to take the fall. And sometimes you just got to sit back and just take the L. I don't think blaming X, Y, and Z is going to solve the problem, because if you really look at this situation, talking about the California wildfires, if you look at this situation, it was kind of inevitable. It's something that I don't think the waters would have helped you. Now, granted, it could have saved a lot of homes and a lot of structures. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, with this wind event and the way that fire spread and how fast that fire spread and how dangerous it was, you're asking a lot from these firefighters to try to contain these fires. Now, is it sad that they didn't have any water to fight these fires? Yes, it is, and I guess I'm kind of poking holes in my own argument, so to speak, by saying that, yeah, you did need the water, but I don't think it would have made this dynamic difference as if it was going to save everybody's homes, if that makes any sense. I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's not the time to point fingers. Literally the fire is still burning and we're pointing fingers. Let's try to get this. Let's focus all our energy on trying to get these fires contained and start a rebuild for these people who are, quote unquote, homeless at this time. Which brings me to this other part of the equation that you see a lot on social media if you pay attention to these type of things. A lot of people could care less about the fires in California, sadly enough. And it's sad. It's sad, some of the posts that I see on social media. It is completely ridiculous how people are saying, oh, celebrities, oh, it's just celebrities losing their houses, like they can't afford to rebuild. Celebrities don't make as much money as you think. They don't have just millions of dollars sitting laying around the house, like you think, like you dreamed up in your head that they are well off. They're not that well off to lose your house like this. And people could care less about that. That's not fair. That's not right. What if people took that attitude if something happened to your house? You know, the typical layman, you know, the middle class, who are struggling to keep their head above water. It's not fair to have that attitude. Number one, it's not just celebrities that live in Los Angeles, people. In case you was wondering, yeah, a lot of celebrities lost their homes, but there are far more average, everyday, go to work every morning Americans who lost their homes, their property, their possessions, and in some cases even lives in this fire. And so you need to watch how you express yourself. I guess you could say it's wrong to feel that way. Even if it was just celebrities, who wants to see anybody, I don't care what status they are, lose their homes, lose their possessions? Here's a few celebrities who houses burned down in these wildfires as of today. Mandy Moore, Carrie Airways, Eugene Levy, Billy Crystal, Paris Hilton, Adam Brody, Anthony Hopkins, Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, Miles Teller, James Woods, Mel Gibson, Ricky Lake, Ed Harris, and the list goes on and on and on of celebrities or entertainers who lost their homes due to these wildfires. And to touch in on that, you on top of that, like I said, beside the celebrities, normal, average, everyday Americans, they're having problems finding homes during these fires. Los Angeles area landlords, they raised the cost of rent. They pretty much price gouged and raised rent 15 to 20% due to these fires. And most of the rent has almost doubled, causing many newly homeless people to have difficulty finding somewhere to stay. This is crazy to me. Why is now, if we want to harp on the government, this is where we harp on the government, because the government should go after these landlords, go after these people who are causing uh, uh, more stress in a situation like this. It's bad enough I lost my house. Now, okay, let me go find somewhere to stay, me and my family, and rent is twice as much as it was before because these landlords, I guess, trying to recoup for what they lost during the fires or whatever the case may be, or they see an opportunity to make money, make more money in these disastrous situations. These are things that we see all the time. See it a lot down here during hurricane season, and whenever a hurricane hits here or a tropical storm or whatever, price gouging is a real thing. It is a real thing. Gas go up like $2 extra. Groceries go up. You know, your essential stuff, and they do it willy nilly, because there's no oversight. There's nobody really looking at that time because they're focused on other things, and it's sad. It is heartbreaking to see that this is taking place for these people in the Los Angeles area. Now, also some hotels, they have offered discounted rates for those who were displaced, while others that choose the price gouge, you know, increasing their rates substantially, even for those who were already booked. And this is before the fires raged out of control. They changed the price. This is even after they had booked it for this price, they came back with a different price. Oh, yesterday's price isn't today's price. And I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's going on there. I feel so bad for those people. Now, the economic impact of this is going to be astronomical. It goes without saying. According to J.P. Morgan, they estimated that the insured loss from the fires were projected to exceed $20 billion, which would set a new record for wildfire-related insurance claims in U.S. history. And To be honest with you, I feel that it's going to be much more than that. That's just the estimate. I'm pretty sure it's going to be way more than $20 billion, but that's the guesstimation, I guess you could say. Now, J.P. Morgan noted that those figures could raise further due to the fire's continuing spread and the lack of containment. Uh, as of January the 12th, damage cost predictions were estimated to be as high as 135 billion with a B dollars. And yeah, this is when this is all said and done, this is going to be catastrophic economic wise. Now, jumping into the entertainment aspect of it all, being as though this is taking place in the Los Angeles and Los Angeles area, and this is movie goodness, we got to talk about entertainment and the effects of what's happening in that arena. Now, due to the severe winds and fire damage, Amazon Studios and Universal Pictures, they canceled their Hollywood premieres to The Wolfman, which is scheduled to come out in a couple of weeks, Unstoppable, which is the Amazon Prime show or movie that is scheduled to come out, I think, this upcoming weekend. And so they canceled those premieres. Universal Studios has closed its Universal Studios Hollywood theme park and Universal City Walk as well. The 31st annual Screen Actors Guild Award, they canceled the live announcement for its nominees. Instead, they issued a list to the press to be released. The 30th annual Critics' Choice Awards, which was intended to be held on January the 12th in Santa Monica, it was postponed until January the 26th. The deadline for Oscar nominations voting was delayed for 2 days due to the fire. The premiere of the Under Ninja movie was canceled due to the state of emergency. I never heard of the Under Ninja. I don't I don't have a earthly idea what that movie's about, but reading the title has my curiosity. Several Hollywood entertainment headquarters and production centers have shut down as well, postponing production of several shows and movies such as Grey's Anatomy, NCIS Origins, Hacks, Ted Lasso, Jimmy Kimmel Live, After Midnight, Fallout, On Call, and The Last Showgirl have all been postponed. Moving over to sports, the NHL postponed their January 8th game at the Crypto.com arena in downtown Los Angeles between the Los Angeles Kings and Calgary Flames due to the wildfires. Also, the NBA, they postponed a January night game between the Los Angeles Lakers and Charlotte Hornets at that same arena, as well as two January the 11th games between the Lakers and the Spurs, and between the Clippers and the Hornets in the Intuit Dome. The NFL, they moved a playoff game. This is how serious it is. The playoffs, it was scheduled to have a Monday night game on January the 13th between the Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings in Glendale. Well, actually, they moved it to Glendale, Arizona. It was supposed to happen in LA, but they moved it to Glendale, Arizona as a alternative. Former U.S. swimmer Gary Hall Jr. said he lost his 10 Olympic gold medals, including 5 gold medals in the fires. And yeah, it's just devastating from that aspect as well, because it affects everything. Of course, first and foremost, these people, homes and businesses and everything. Yes, that is first and foremost, but that affects them. And now you're going into this and it affects everybody else, because everybody who are into sports and looking forward to these games, they have to not watch their favorite team play, or their movies that you were looking forward to. I was looking forward to seeing Wolfman, which it isn't going to stop the release of the film or nothing like that. But as far as the premieres and stuff like that, but it affects these films and these TV shows and so on and so forth that will affect you in some shape, form, or fashion. So don't think that it's just relegated to those who are in the Los Angeles area. But with all that being said, those are the events of these California wildfires that have devastated the people in the Los Angeles area. And as always, as I said to start off the show, my thoughts and prayers are with everyone who are dealing with this. Because this is gonna be a road back that's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough, and my heart goes out to them, to those who lost their lives. Heart goes out to them, to the firefighters and the first responders. Man, I my hat goes off to you. As people are running away from the fires, you see these firefighters running into it, and that takes some bravery that we all wish we have. We all think we have. You know, Everybody thinks they can run into the fire and be the hero until they feel the heat. And that's when you get that reality check. Like, do I really want? You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, we all think that we have that gene in us to be Superman or Batman or something like that. But these men and women who truly put their lives on the line, I should say, for our lives, they deserve all the accolades that they earned. But yeah, hopefully they get all this under control in some shape, form, or fashion. It is kind of crazy that uh, them being so close to the ocean, to the biggest body of water on Earth, the Pacific Ocean, and they don't have water to fight the fires. It is the craziest thing I have ever heard in my life. But this is where we at. This is 2025. Hopefully they can get this rectified in some shape, form, or fashion, and be able to contain these fires and get people back on track to rebuild and get back to a normal life. All right, now let's get into our review for today. It is a film that is related to what is taking place currently in California, and it is none other than the 1998 action thriller directed by Dean Sampler, starring Howie Long, Glenn or Scott Glenn, William Forsythe, and Susie Amos. Firestorm, a film in 1988 that I was super excited for. And the reason I was super excited for, me being a huge football fan, I liked Harry Long, and I liked him leading up to this because he had popped up in a couple of movies as, he wasn't the star, but he was in it as like a henchman in Broken Arrow. And it was another film that he popped up in, but I liked him in Broken Arrow, the little role that he had. And I'm like, man, Harvey Long got a little something with him. He can act a little bit. Now, granted, Broken Arrow was not an Academy Award winning film, but I liked his acting in that movie. It fit that movie. And so when he was announced to be the lead of this action film, and I'm like, okay, he fits the bill. Big guy, muscular guy, tough, rugged guy. He's this firefighter who got to fight these criminals during a fire. Oh man, in the woods. Man, give me this. I'm excited for this, And I liked firefighter movies, even though we don't get a lot of them. You get Backdraft, which is probably my all-time favorite firefighter movie, which I thought about reviewing for this show, but I chose not to. I'm gonna save that for another one, another show upon itself, I should say. And there's another firefighter film that I liked. It came out in the '80s. Why is the name escaping me? My God, I think Timothy Hutton. It was Timothy Hutton Is it Tuck 182 or something like that? It was something. It came out in the 80s. Anyway, I like that movie too. But I wanted to talk about this because I'll never ever get the opportunity to talk about a smoke jumper like this again. Oh, Those Who Wish Them Dead. That's another one too with Angelina Jolie. Almost reviewed that one. Almost reviewed that one. That came out a couple of years ago. But anyways, I will never get the opportunity to talk about this movie, and I decided today is the day. Firestorm, man, this movie was so bad. This was not a good movie at all. This was a failed attempt to turn Harry Long into something. And this is around the era where they were just throwing these actors or and I say that loosely, but we will see these people. They'll throw them against the wall, see who sticks. Who can emerge in the mid to late '90s as the next big action star. Because in the '80s we got a plethora of them that we still watch to this day. We still watch Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and all these Van Dams and all that good stuff. We watched all them in the '80s. So in the '90s, not so much. In the '90s, they had so many come out and they didn't pan out too well. I think the only one from the '90s that came out of nowhere that you kind of sat back and said, okay, that's an action star, and that's Steven Seagal. But we saw how he has fell from grace as of a few years ago. I mean, he can't buy a role right now because Steven Seagal can't act. Yeah, he can kick your butt. At least he used to. Now he's about 300 pounds, and even he probably still can kick your butt, but he can't act. But Howie Long was one of those guys. Howie Long, like I said, he fit the bill. Had this came out 10, 15 years earlier, Howie Long would have done it. This movie would have did blockbuster numbers. This movie bombed, and it bombed because it had the weakest story, the weakest screenplay, and the worst acting you ever want to see. And this is with Scott Glenn, who I adore. I love Scott Glenn as an actor. William Forsythe as the villain in this film. William Forsythe is awesome. It just did not work. This movie was set in Wyoming during this wildfire that took place in the woods or whatever. And Howie Long, he's the smoke jumper. And in case you don't want to know what a smoke jumper is, those are the firefighters who they go out and they're highly trained, and they jump from the airplanes, and they try to contain these wildfires. Like they'll set a fire behind it where it can kind of take the air from the big fire so they can contain the big fire and stuff like that. I learned a lot about firefighters through this movie and what these dudes were doing, because I was wondering why. Well, he's a firefighter. Why is he setting fires? And it was explained in the movie. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's cool that they do that. Stuff like that. But that's about it. That's it. As far as this film is concerned, this did nothing for my excitement level. The action was weak. Now, I did enjoy the cinematography. Now, the movie is directed by a cinematographer who he made some pretty decent films as a cinematographer, or dare I say some really good movies as a cinematographer or director of photography, however you want to label him. But he did the Mad Max films with George Miller. He shot Last Action Hero, Waterworld, The Bone Collector, Nutty Professor 2, and Triple X, and all these movies. He really is a good cinematographer. I love the way he shoots movies. Unfortunately, and he also did Apocalypto, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. and it looked gorgeous. He shoots some really good movies, but he can't direct. Just because you can place a camera in a good spot, don't mean that you you can direct a film. He just could not direct. This movie was all over the place. It was just boring. In a movie like this, an action thriller, where at least, okay, if the acting is bad, you can look past it. It's a popcorn, turn your brain off type movie. It didn't even excite you with the action. It was just so bland. This was the blandest action movie I ever seen in my life. It was borderline boring. And I watched this movie twice. I watched it when it came out, went to the theater to go see this. And then I watched it again about 2 or 3 days ago to prepare for this show. And it took me 2 or 3 days to finish it. I just could not sit down and watch this movie without falling asleep. I mean, it was that bad. And it's sad because I knew, it wasn't like I was disappointed. Like, man, I remember it better than this. No, I knew that this movie was bad, but it still found a way to make me mad. And I just could not, I had to force myself to get through it. But like I said, the only positives, the cinematography was great. I love the look of the film. Uh, it did look realistic, the fires and all that good stuff. That was exciting to watch. The action was unbelievable. The plot was equally unbelievable, and it just ended. This movie just stopped. It's like they got to a certain point. It's like they got to a certain point, and they said, "You know what? We're good. This should be enough." And the movie just stopped, and whatever. But I guess it was a mercy, because it was a chore to get through it. Firestorm from 1998, starring the great Howie Long, gets a letter grade of a D minus. Yeah, it was yeah, yeah, it's a movie. I'll say that much. But anywho's, to everybody in the Los Angeles area, I know my wife's friend. She lives in that area. I don't think she was directly affected by it, or at least not to my knowledge. But there are some people that I do know that live out in that area. Thank God they're okay. But you also have to keep in mind the air quality. All that's going to affect them as well, and this is far from over. So with it being far from over, please keep those people in your thoughts and prayers. And if you're able to donate, if you're able to help and assist in any shape, form, or fashion, I implore you to do it. I'm not telling you who to send your money to. It's up to you. It's your money, whoever you trust. If you trust Red Cross or whoever, whatever these foundations are, do your research. Don't just send it to any old body. Do your research and send it to the right people who will do what that money is allocated for. So if you're able to help these people out in any shape, form, or fashion, I implore you to do it. I do plan to do it in the next couple of days or so, because I've been touched. My heart is telling me to help, so I'm going to assist in some shape, form, or fashion. I would love to know, everybody, do you know anybody being affected by these storms, or I say storms, but these wildfires? Do you plan to help out, or are you sympathetic, empathetic to the cause? Let me know, everybody. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the KB Radio Network on all social media networks as well. Don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube, and like this video pretty please. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to movie goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this edition of Movie Goodness. I really, really, really enjoy talking to you all. I want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.